As of this recording, I've played over 30 hours of Final Fantasy XIV, really soaking in those first impressions, which I'm going to share with you and talk about whether or not I recommend this game for a brand new player or not, looking for a different, I don't want to say new, MMORPG to try at this point. To get into it, to start, the character creator, it's pretty simple and pretty minimal. There's not a lot that you can do to make your character distinct from other players, honestly. Every race has like 4 different faces, and that's it. There's not really any sliders, everything is presets. This is before Black Desert kind of revolutionized character creators in MMORPGs, so. With all the different races there are, however, hopefully there's still enough options for you to make a character that still suits you, because for me, some races entirely do not have any good faces or anything at all that I felt were any good. One of the human faces is literally just a different face, but with a stubble, and that's it. That's the one I went with, by the way. Moving on into gameplay, it's your usual tab targeting affair. It is smooth, it is fun, it's slower paced than some other ones, but I like that personally. My biggest downside here is that telegraphs are misleading. The game is very based on telegraphs. However, the telegraphs do not indicate an upcoming attack the way that other games do. Instead, it indicates an attack about to begin. However, you don't dodge the attack, you dodge the telegraph. So even though the attack animation won't really begin until the telegraph goes away, if you're standing in a telegraph, then you're going to get hit by it. The moment the telegraph goes away, you're guaranteed to get hit by the attack, even if the attack doesn't fire off for another 10 seconds. Even if you've run a mile away by that point, you will still get hit. I don't like that. I really hate that. But other than that, the gameplay is actually smooth and fun. Because also, the game is very easy to learn, and it teaches you everything. It goes out of its way to teach you every mechanic, every system, everything. It holds your hand like you're a little MMORPG baby that's never had a tutorial or an MMORPG in your life, ever. And I actually really like this. I understand this is not the most popular thing. I really like this because in addition to this, they also kind of unfurl your skill set to you very slowly. Leveling is not too quick, which again is a good thing in my book. You actually get to enjoy the leveling experience going through the storyline. You can play every single class on one character, which is simultaneously really cool and also really confusing, especially since crafters are their own classes. That's another very interesting thing, but I suppose it's nice, and you can kind of track all that. You can make different loadouts for different classes and swap between them with a simple change of a loadout. However, this does put you at odds with your inventory space, which is very limited, and after a point, to expand it, you would need to pay real money to rent new retainers, as they're called, which will come with more inventory space. And yes, I said rent, not buy. You have to really rent it as part of your subscription cost. Classes are also a beginner thing, which become jobs eventually, and your class advances into your job, which means it actually, like, it stays the same class, but it's also now a job, which is kind of like a part 2 of a class in a way. And it doesn't really specify this until after, but some classes can become 2 jobs, meaning it'll only advance into one job and the other one is just very similar but not exact. It's very confusing, actually, if you've played any other MMORPG. I will say that, the class and job system. Housing is not accessible at the beginning of the game, so I can't really give you my impressions on that. Moving on to the story, though, it varies a lot depending on what class you pick and what city you start in, because at the beginning, the 3 different cities, which is determined by your class, which one you get, they have different storylines, particularly different, that will all unify eventually, not too long into the game. Like 15 levels. There's like no voice acting. It's very minimal. I think I had 1 or 2 voice acted scenes in that intro portion, which lasts a number of hours, by the way. So it's mostly a text slog. Contrarily to gameplay, nothing in the story feels well explained. After 30 plus hours, I have no idea what any of the races are, why they're here, where they come from, or anything like that. I don't know much of the history of the world or what makes the prominent characters relevant. I do know that the world almost ended. This is the one thing they never shut up about, and what everybody thinks about that. Initially, the overarching story, in my opinion, is pretty bad. But I did really like the Arcanist class-specific storyline. These class-specific storylines are self-contained enough that I got enough of a good experience by seeing a couple of them from beginning to end, whereas the initial main storyline leading up to and through level 20, where you get your mount, is so just... it doesn't explain anything. I still don't know anything except that the world almost ended and that there's a group of individuals that are supposed to stop that from happening, and that's literally it. The player base of this game, if you're curious, is very, very healthy. I've checked a few different servers in North America and they were always populated. Early game questing areas are not very packed, but the hubs certainly are. This game feels more alive and has more player interaction than any MMORPG that I've played in the past few years. It's not even close. This is probably the most alive MMORPG that I've played since 2010. The graphics of this game are just terrible. There's insane aliasing that requires a high resolution to solve. This game scales terribly with the resolutions that it was designed for, but of course it does. It's an old MMORPG. Object quality brings me back to 2008 with these stubby little meat, like fingers, whatever you want. The objects are terrible, the graphics are terrible. The draw distances of characters can pop in, especially if you're in a populated area, 10 feet in front of you, man. You step forward just a couple feet, and all those characters will despawn and new ones will spawn in. It's just absolutely awful. And this is after a major graphical update. Performance, meanwhile, is amazing. This game runs very smoothly and the loading screens are minimal. I tested this on a really bad Gen 4 NVMe SSD, which is still pretty damn fast, and a hard drive. Performance stays consistent, even on the brands for like GPU, CPU, that the game doesn't claim to support well at all, and that in the benchmarks, it really doesn't support well at all. The game still runs great. The loading screens go fine. The streaming of assets is awesome. Hitching is like barely existent compared to a lot of other MMORPGs running on their fancy schmancy Unreal Engine 4. Like, this game runs like a charm. Honestly, it's kind of impressive. I do want to say the usability is minimal. And what I mean by that is just how you interact with the game services. Everything from making an account to managing it takes place on a web browser. Final Fantasy XIV has 3 different websites with such terrible navigation that I have struggled with the most basic of tasks. I've been using PCs for 24 years and I felt like a 90-year-old using one for the first time when I tried to use their websites to change some very simple settings or look for some very simple things. Now, based off of this first impressions, would I recommend this? Yes, I would recommend this game. I think it's a lot of fun. It's one of the few remaining, at this point, classic tab targeting MMORPGs, which I really, really like these. There's a reason that there was so many of them. They're good. A lot of gamers are tired of them, but I'm certainly not, because nothing has replaced them yet that is equally as fun. So would I recommend this? Hell yeah! Especially because it's still so alive. But I would beware its high price. In my opinion, this is the most expensive MMORPG on the market. I'm not saying it's the one you can spend the most amount of money on. I'm saying that as a baseline, it offers you the most variety, or demands of you the most variety of money spending methods. You must pay a retail price to get into this game. You must pay a retail price every time a new expansion launches. You must pay a subscription every month. No way to earn it in-game. And there is a cash shop that has tons of stuff on it. Many, many pages. Hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of opportunities to spend money, constantly adding more. They looked at all the different monetization schemes and said, give me all of them. As I mentioned, you can even rent, not buy, more inventory space. You can buy bag space in some games. In this one, you rent it. It's an extra like $2 per retainer, and you get like 8 more of them. Probably like doubling the amount that you might be paying in subscription. That's insane. However, if you are okay with this monetization, you beware of it and don't fall for any traps. and the rest of this sounds good to you, yeah, dude, I'd recommend this game. This game is a ton of fun to me so far. And I'm sad because it's the last one of these MMOs that I really have on my list to play. So I'm definitely going to keep enjoying it on stream, which hopefully you can come hang out with me on. What do you think about the game if you've played it? Leave that in the comments below. For now, though, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.